Bore da bawb, bore da. Croeso I gyfarfod archwilio. Welcome everybody to the meeting of Audit and Corporate Services Review Committee. I'm Madeleine Havard. I'm kicking off the meeting today as our first item is to appoint a chair of the committee for the next year. I'm very happy to announce that we have one nomination for this position, which is Councillor Di Clements. We have a formal proposer in myself. Is there a seconder, just for the record, please? Thank you, Claire, very much. So Councillor Claire George as seconder. Members, I'll go straight to the vote on this, please. If you'll all show your approval of nomination of chair, Councillor Di Clements. Thank you very much. I think that is unanimous, Di. So, llongyfarchiadau, and congratulations, and over to you. Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr iawn, Madeleine. Very honoured again to, well, I feel like I'm sitting in the hot seat again, coming back to where I started. So, thank you very much to everybody for supporting me. My next item on the agenda is to appoint a deputy chair for the ensuing year, and I've had a proposer from Dr. Madeleine Harvard that Councillor Claire George be nominated, and I've actually seconded that nomination. So I have no others, so please could I have a show of hands that is accepted, please. Thank you. You can vote for yourself, Claire. Lovely, thank you very much. Good. Hopefully we will be able to try and get finished sort of lunchtime-ish, just for people's information. We will have a break about 11:30-ish, or where there's a natural break, just for people's information. Gwyn, did you want to say something?
No, I just left my hand in the.
That's fine.
Still applauding.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind. There we are. Good. We've got apologies for absence. I know we've got Dr. Plummer, Dr. Rosie Plummer, Councillor Mike James, and Councillor Bethan Price. I don't think we've got anybody else, have we, Caroline? No, that's great. Thank you.
I think that's everybody.
Thank you very much. And to receive any disclosures of interest by members or officers in respect of any items of business. Do we have any? No, everyone's shaking their heads, so that's good. Next item is item 5, which is the minutes of the meeting held on the 14th of May 2025. I'm happy to propose these. Do I have a seconder? Madeleine, you seconding? Thank you very much. Do I have agreement with the committee that those are a true record? You could raise your hands, please.
Chair.
Thank you. And then do I have any abstentions?
I was not present at the last meeting, Chair.
I wasn't there.
So, Sam, Gwyn, were you there, Claire?
No.
Oh, no, you weren't, so that's 3 then. Abstaining, I'm presuming.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Were there any items on the minutes that anybody wanted to raise that aren't on the rest of the agenda? No? Okay, thank you very much. That's done. Item 6 is to note the action log from the previous meeting. So I'm just finding where that is. So that's on page 15. There's one here that's completed, so that can be taken off on 060. But is there any thoughts on any of the others? Chief Executive Tegrin Jones, please.
Yeah, good. Sorry, there's a gap there on 1077, which is about the levels of delegation on the risk appetite. Sorry, I was away during when the papers were put together. I think we incorporated that when we reviewed the policy as part and presented it to the authority, but all the risk documents are there to be amended and updated if we don't feel it's right. So in some respects, at this moment, I would register that as completed. Having said that, that's not to say we wouldn't revolve it if we felt that the levels of delegation weren't right. But sorry, it's not written there.
No, so do we need to leave that on until, or are we happy as members for that is completed now and that can be removed as is 1078 and 1079 as well, which I'd forgotten that there was a third page. Madeline, please.
Yes, I think that's fine. It was agreed at the previous meeting, but as Tegrin says, it is a process that might well change. It's iterative, really, isn't it? So we will need to come back to it, but I think that's fine as it is. It would be foolish to keep it on, I think. And just to comment that the way this table has been populated, you know, with clear dates, with clear responsibilities and so on, I think, you know, we've got to the place we need to on this now. So that's excellent. Thanks to Caroline and the whole team for ensuring that is presented to us in this format going forward. That's great. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Madeline. Do I have any other comments from any other members, please? No, okay. I just wondered, Tegrin, on 1059, do we need the information on Farmyard Road? Did that not come through? Has that not been or not? Or have I missed that? Or because I've been involved in it so heavily, do I feel like I've probably overdone it and I don't need it, but other members may not have had sight of it? So has that been calculated?
I thought we'd done that, but I'll check. And to be honest, there is a Ffermio Bro booklet there that we can easily circulate, so people will get an overview of the scheme there. So we'll do that, and then I think the performance of Ffermio Bro will be picked up as part of the performance management reports. As we move on, it might be prudent, possibly after a year, out of interest from members, for us to produce an annual report, if you like, or yes, not an annual report, a report on year one, yes, if you like, just yes, to give a flavour of it there. But yeah, it's I'm sure we can circulate that document itself. It's a fairly functional document, if I'm honest with you, in terms of the process, but it does give people a flavour of the scheme. The other thing I'd say is a lot of Ffermio Bro is us engaging with farmers. Therefore, you know, we'll have a better idea in a year's time and 2 years' time how it's working as schemes develop. There.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So will that report come to audit? I presume it probably would in the future.
Yeah. So
okay. So I'm just wondering whether that one needs taking off, and perhaps something, although we haven't discussed it yet. So I'm just thinking to make sure it's somewhere that we remember it so that it comes on a regular basis. That's all.
Yeah, well, it should be included. I'm pretty sure Myra will have included it in the performance report, so it should appear there. And then I noticed James has put a note in the chat. We'll circulate the booklet, and therefore everybody, if we've got it during the meeting, we might circulate it now. There. So, but yeah, it's just for people to know. And if anybody's got any questions, we will more than happy answer them as it evolves.
So that could be taken off. That's what I was trying to get at. So we want to make sure that the ones that are only relevant, don't we, or remain on here, rather than have a long list, ideally. So is everybody else happy with the other timescales and action and progress? Getting nods, that's good. Okay, thank you very much. Well, we will go straight on to the agenda proper. So we'll go to report number 1825, which is the internal audit report. and this will be taken by Sarah Griffiths from Astari, who are our internal auditors, and that's on page 19. So welcome, Sarah, nice to see you, and over to you, please.
Thanks, Chair. Morning, everybody. So we've got 3 internal audit reports come in today. They're all substantial assurance, so I'll give you a quick overview of each and then I'll come for any questions if that's okay. So first up, we've got key financial controls. So we look at different topics within this area on a cyclical basis. So this year we looked at fixed assets. We raised no recommendations in this report. There was just one suggestion which related to the opportunity to developing guidance for the wider business on fixed assets, but overall really positive. Any questions on that one at all?
No, I think it should be noted. It should be noted that that was a really good outcome, I think, for us. Yeah. So well done to the team, and really, yeah, nice to see. So thank you. I want to move on. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next report we've got is the IT and digital transformation strategy. Again, substantial assurance. We raised one recommendation here, which related to ensuring that there was clear guidance for escalation to ensure that projects and actions were escalated when required. And there's 2 good practice suggestions included for consideration as well. Was there any questions on that one?
Thank you, Sarah. I'm going to go to Councillor Claire George first and then Madeline, please.
Thank you, Chair. Sarah, I don't know if these questions are for you or for the wider team. There are a few things from my point of view that weren't in there. So things like contingency planning and business continuity, was that picked up at all in your explorations?
No, the areas of scope are listed under 2.2 in the report, so you can see the areas that we agreed. So we looked at the processes for delivering IT and digital projects, consideration of stakeholder engagement and the buy-in to that strategy, how it was resourced, looked at skills training and expert external support, and then performance monitoring reporting as well. So not specifically here, business continuity is generally picked up in a separate review on a wider scale.
So that wasn't consideration. Okay. And my other question was around the levels of security, cybersecurity training. Was that due to the system transition, or was that due to compliance?
I'll need to come back to you on that one, but I can drop you a note after the meeting. I'll go through the pack and just double check.
Thank you.
Thanks, Claire. Thanks, Sarah. Madeline, please.
Maya's got her hand up.
Oh, yes. So she has. Maya,
maybe a comment.
Yeah. Did you want to come in on that, Maya? Sorry.
Yeah, just to say on the kind of disaster recovery and business continuity aspect of the IT, they're currently doing an internal audit at the moment as part of this year's programme, so that will be covered in this year's programme. And then in terms of training, probably one of the issues we've had is that our cybersecurity and data protection has been on a different system, so that has kind of made it harder for us to get the kind of full scope of kind of getting all staff and some of the monitoring processes. So we're currently at the process now of moving it onto our ELM system, and that should help us in terms of get those numbers up, and it'll support us to integrate that in areas such as induction training and the number of staff a lot wider. And also the IT team have been involved with the other national park authorities on some additional cybersecurity training, and we have had some very positive take up from our staff, so that's been a good development in that area more recently.
Thank you, Maya. Chair, just on the back of that, I noticed that our target was 98%. What is there a reason? Do we have people who aren't using IT? Why would it be 98%?
I think it's in terms of that sometimes you'll have a kind of crossover with some of our mandatory training, so where you've got new staff. I think for us, when we have the kind of move to the induction, the aim would be to really be hitting that, because ideally they'd be completing that in the first week. So I think that's part of the attraction of moving it to the Elm system. It'll make it a lot easier for us to potentially hit that target, but it's to kind of cover those kind of anomalies that do happen in terms of it.
Good. Yeah, I'm reassured. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Madeline, did you want to come with your question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's to continue on the training point, which is picked up in both this and the next audit, the visitor centre audit. The point being, I know it's really difficult with the budgets at the moment, and we are very careful and in putting a great deal of pressure, I suspect, on our staff to be more efficient and so on. And sadly, training tends to be an area that people think is perhaps one that we can push down the line a little bit or save a bit of money on. And I'm just very aware that actually training and skills for our staff is absolutely critical. You could say particularly in this field, IT and digital, but it is across the board. You know, it really relates to an awful lot of things, not least health and safety in many of our staff. So it's just a raising the flag that we need to be aware as members, and indeed I'm sure the staff team are, that trying to make cost savings on the budget, the training budget, is often counterproductive. So just for us to keep that in our minds when we're looking at budgets and so on going forward, and certainly not for teams to think that they shouldn't go for training. Obviously there's you know, it needs to be discussed with line management and agreement made, but it should be something that's in everybody's mind to continually develop and progress. Yeah.
Thank you, Madeline. And I don't know if anybody watched the Panorama programme last week. I did, about IT and how it affected Marks and Spencers and a lorry company that actually made them well, they went into administration. So actually, you know, a small cost now can save millions, and so important. It was really quite an eye-opener. Sorry, that's a bit of an aside, but it was it struck me how important. It just keeps saying, you know, implying how important this particular subject is. Sorry, Sarah, back to you.
No problem, thank you. The last audit report we've got for today is visitor centres. So again, substantial assurance, a really positive audit. There are some recommendations raised in this report. So there's one medium recommendation which looked at ensuring that there was appropriate assurance over thorough inspections, which needs to be undertaken in line with the lifting operations and equipment regulations. And then there's two low recommendations in here as well. So recommending the use of standard templates for risk assessments and to ensure consistency with inspection recording. There's also some good practice suggestions included in that report for some consideration as well. Any questions on that one?
All happy? Good, thank you.
Sorry. Last up first then is the internal audit annual report. So I'll take this as read, but I'll just pick out a few key bits that I just need to draw your attention to on this one. So this report focuses on the work that we did during 24-25, so it takes us up to March this year. The bit that I just need to draw your attention to is the assurance statement, which includes the head of internal audit opinion. So as a quick summary, we've undertaken an appropriate amount of work to be able to draw a reasonable conclusion over the adequacy and effectiveness of the authority's governance, risk management and internal control arrangements. And it does reference in there around the risk maturity follow-up and the progress made to implement recommendations there, but the assurance that we've got, they are being looked into now. So any questions on that one at all?
Okay. Seems to be everybody's happy. Okay, so no comments at all? No, was there anything else you wanted to mention, Sarah?
No, that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, if there is, I mean, it's pleasing that it's a good report. It's a very positive report for the authority, and thanks should be given to all of those who input into the actions needed to make this such a positive report. And it gives us assurance as members, doesn't it, that everything is being looked at, and those recommendations that have been advised are being considered and acted upon. So, okay, with that then, thank you, Sarah. You're very welcome to continue. Oh, Tegrin, you're very welcome to continue on the meeting, Sarah. Before, I know you've got other things on, but before you go, Tegrin, please.
Yeah, I just noticed Pete has put a note in the chat. I don't know if that is something you'd want to do now, Pete, or is that something you would follow up later? It's providing additional information on some staff cyber training. So I just in case it probably fits in here.
Yeah, that would be quite helpful, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's just to say that it was raised to us that we could get free cyber training for 60 staff, and we prioritised sort of frontline staff who engage with the public, and as well as admin staff, sort of like reception, people like that, people at centres, anyone who's got regular communication with the public via sort of electronic means. We were able to work with other Eryri and Banai as well to run 3 sessions, each submitting 20 staff, and our take up was very good. And we've got 2 more sessions now for the next month and the month after to finish that off. Yeah,
that's excellent. Thank you very much.
It's been very positive so far.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful. Thank you, and it's good that we're collaborating with the other 2 national parks, because I suspect we probably have similar systems and things that are all interrelated. So really important that we all do this together. I'm just reading Andrew's with regard to the lift inspection. This has been arranged through our insurers, Zurich. So Andrew, did you want to say anything more on that? That was the only thing that was of a little concern, but sounds like that you're on it anyway. Did you want to say any more on that?
No, nothing more.
Thank you very much for the message. Good. Okay, with that then, thank you very much, Sarah.
Thank you. See you soon.
Yeah, see you soon. Very grateful for your time and effort. Thank you. Good. Okay, we are going on to the agenda item 1925, which is the action log for external performance audit and internal audit ending 31st of May 25, and Maya Thomas, our Performance and Compliance Officer, will take this item. So over to you, Maya, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So this is the action log for external performance audit and internal audit for the period ending 31st of May 2025. 2 actions on the Audit Wales action log have been closed after discussions with relevant officers. So the first is work with the other designated landscapes and Welsh Government to ensure there is clarity on who provides what support and training. This action has been closed as the authority has and will continue to deliver its member training through its training plan. Members also attend Welsh Government training sessions when provided, and wider work is being led by Welsh Government on reviewing arrangements for evaluating National Park Authority member performance in Welsh National Park authorities, and the authority will continue to engage with this process. So it was felt that at this time it was appropriate to close this action. The second is to develop a strategy for income diversification, commercial opportunity with set of smart KPIs, and this does kind of interlink to one of the actions that we had from a follow-up audit that we kind of agreed not to carry forward. This action has been closed as the authority is delivering this work through a live cost saving spreadsheet, which is reviewed by the Income Generation Working Group with members. This document is setting the strategic direction and discussions for the authority on income generation opportunities alongside cost savings to support setting of a balanced budget. management and team leaders have fed into the spreadsheet. So the decision has been to close this. This may be up for further, I suppose, discussion as to whether we feel that a strategy would be beneficial or not. But at this time, our current approach has been to use that spreadsheet and the income generation group to really have a live approach in terms of kind of managing the direction of travel. 2 actions have been completed linked to updating starter and leaver processes to take account of ICT permissions and assets. One of these was a high priority and one was a medium priority. In terms of outstanding items that are behind under high or medium priority for internal audit actions, one of the high priority actions for information and cybersecurity and data protection is past its due date and still in progress. A verbal update will be provided during the private session on the risk register on this activity undertaken to date to progress this action due to it being linked to cybersecurity. So we don't feel it's appropriate to give you the update in the kind of current open forum. The action on training and moving cybersecurity and data protection training to ELMS is progressing, and we've made some further progress this week. So we've got the cybersecurity training up on ELMS. We're just needing to do some technical testing in terms of that, and we've agreed the further amendments to the data protection training. The 2 actions on accident, incident and near miss reporting and investigation were in progress in May, but have since been completed in June, with amendments to the form being applied and training on investigations included in the training HR for non-HR manager sessions. So those actions will on the next reporting period be noted as complete. In terms of income generation, work on integrating monitoring income diversification action plan into performance management framework hasn't yet commenced. Commencement of this action was impacted by the follow-up audit and closure of the action plan checklist recommendation. Any indicators will now need to link not to an action plan, but our wider activities on income generation, efficiency and cost saving activities. There is potential to explore functionality of reporting dashboards on the new system to see if it can provide an opportunity to capture and report different information. And officers will explore further. I'll explore this further with the head of finance and our CEO, and we can look at how it's implicated in terms of our wider review of our performance framework. In terms of risk, work is being undertaken to revise the risk management strategy following recommendations from internal audit, including reviewing risk objectives, and the paper went to the June NPA on this matter. Members are asked to receive and comment on this action log.
Thank you, Mara. As ever, very comprehensive, so thank you. So members, are there any comments on the action log for both the external and internal audit? Got one on the public rights of way officer. Obviously that's not started, has it? Because of the waiting for recruitment. Just wondered, is there a plan B on that one? Anybody help with that? Tegrin, please. No. Who's there? James.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was to say we went out one round and weren't successful. We've gone out for a second round. The closing date, I think, is imminent. Fingers crossed we don't need a plan B. but if we do, I'll come back to you because I've got a few thoughts on that front.
Okay, so it's being considered. So there is that's good.
Yeah, making plan A work is the priority at the moment.
Yeah, no, that's fine, as long as there's, say, considering just in case, because I know it's difficult recruiting. Joy, did you want to come in? Joy Arkley.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say that we're shortlisting on Monday and we've got a date in the calendar for the interviews, so we're optimistic that we will be able to shortlist next week.
Great, lovely. Thank you very much. Madeline, please.
Thanks, Chair. Yes, I just wanted to go back to the external audit actions that we've closed, and just to comment on the commercial opportunity strategy or income diversification. I think it is sensible to have closed this action in that we do have a very live and therefore dynamic interaction with the income generation group and spreadsheet there, but I think it's maybe worth keeping on our radar that we might want to fit this work into a wider strategic approach. I know we have also under our wider corporate strategy income diversification, but you know, I wouldn't want us, and I know we have discussed it with Audit Wales, so it's absolutely right that we take that decision, I think, but just I think it would be helpful for us to be thinking about this in the income diversification group as much as anything, and just if we feel that we need a more of a framework to work within. As it is, I think this is a very sensible approach. So Tegrin's obviously got a comment.
Yes, Tegrin, over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, I badly got there before me. And just a bit of context. It was a bit of a feeling, actually. We need to focus on doing things as opposed to creating documents saying what we're going to do. And actually, part of this is a bit of our flexibility of process to take advantage of opportunities as they arise. And therefore to move it to a more working towards a balanced budget gave us that flexibility. I wouldn't want anybody, I think your point is very valid there, and I wouldn't want to anybody to think actually, oh, we're not bothering with this now, and therefore that's it's purely a mechanism and a framework for us to say, you know, we could spend time creating a long list and a strategy and all of this, but actually we need to do things. So it's driven by that more than anything else.
Yeah, and I'd say it gives us the opportunities, those on the income generation.
Yeah.
It goes hand in hand, doesn't it, really? And we throw lots of different ideas about on that one. Yeah, okay, thank you for that. Do I have any other comments on the action log, please? No? Okay, well, thank you, Mara. Thank you, members, on that one. We will move on. Do we have, no, we just note that one, don't we, Caroline? That's nothing voting wise, thank you. We'll move on to the agenda item 2025, the People Services Report, and this will be taken by our Head of People Services, Joy Arkley. And I'm just mindful that I haven't got huge amounts of battery on this one, so I've just realised, so I'm just going to have to go and run and get a plug. So Joy, if you would like to comment, although I see Maya's got a hand up. Maya, did you want to say something before Joy starts her presentation?
No, it's showing my hand as down, but
oh no, it's gone down now. That's fine.
Okay.
That's
No
fine.
problem.
There we are. That's lovely. So if you could take it away, Joy, I'll go and get my plug. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. So if we look at the accident incidents and near misses, I've raised some concern and that we may have had some underreporting because there were no incidents reported in the month of May, but and I've raised that both at the management team and in a meeting with the management of Countryside Managers last week, and stressed the importance of and the value to the organisation of all incidents, accidents and near misses being reported. We still have a clean sheet as far as RIDDOR is concerned, which is pleasing. And the incidents reported in the second quarter that demonstrate an increase in halves, but this is largely due to familiarisation with the system, and we met at the end of last week and revised the policy and the risk assessment and looked at how we could help users remember to follow the rudimentary steps of clocking on and clocking off onto the system, because to a certain extent when we've investigated the HAVS incidents, largely been down to user error. We have a rigorous process in place when people exceed the points, and it's monitored very closely and carefully, and that's an ongoing situation which is underpinned as well with toolbox talks on a regular basis. And having attended one of the toolbox talks, it's very rigorous and it's also interactive. So what I would say is that staff are very engaged in that process. It's also been mentioned that we delivered some training on HR for non-HR managers in June, and that included sections on investigations and the process to be followed. So and conflict resolution and difficult conversations, which were issues that had been addressed before. So there are a number of policies that are still being under review. So loan working and first aid policy. The loan working policy went to the staff reps group last week for their comment. And that brings us really to sickness absence. Sickness absence, we still haven't got any members of staff on long-term sickness absence at present. We continue to monitor short-term sickness absence and conduct return to work interviews with all staff, regardless of the length of time they've been off. So there's a significant reduction in sickness absence compared to 12 months ago, which is very pleasing to see. Although mindful of the tendency these days for people to work when unwell, particularly with the prevalence of home working. In terms of lessons learned as a result of an incident that happened last year, we have had some bespoke training delivered to people who are responsible for loading trailers, and that has been very well received. And as I said, about 30 staff attended the HR for non-HR managers sessions, and the plan is to follow those up with individual detailed sessions on request. And then finally, it brings me to volunteering. We're currently undertaking a root and branch review of volunteering. And this is picking up on the strategic review that was done in 2021, but we're identifying, and we've identified potentially 50 roles that aren't being undertaken, that could be undertaken by volunteers as part of this process. And we're looking as well at streamlining how we recruit and manage volunteers, and also the offerings that are available. So we're looking at social action, we're looking at micro volunteering, family opportunities, group volunteering, and such like. So that, Chair, concludes my presentation in regard to the People Services paper. Happy to take any questions, of course.
Thank you, Joy. Members, Gwyn, please.
Yes, just one comment and one question. The comment was that I noticed that statistic which Joy referred to being very good. There have been 27 days of sickness in February 25 compared with 77 in February 24. So really nice trend to note for. But on the next page, under volunteering, just a quick question. I don't know, what is micro volunteering?
So that's specific small opportunities of volunteering. So it's not a long-term project. It's a specific task, and what I'll do, Chair, is there's a definition which has escaped me at the moment. What I'll do, I'll put the definition in chat, if I may, on what micro volunteering is, because I have got a definition for it, but it's just eluded me at this moment in time. So forgive me. I should have expanded on that in the report. I do apologise.
That's fine.
Don't rush. Don't rush. Yeah. Don't worry. Yeah. James, did you want to come in with a comment while Joy's looking for that?
Yeah, it was just to say a good example is something like the 2-minute beach clean. So the idea that you're not necessarily subscribing up to volunteer every week to do tasks, you suddenly do something as a micro volunteering opportunity that helps the park, you know. So it's those kind of little opportunities that we could capitalise on to just help, you know, keep things open and accessible and clean, etc.
Would it be a good idea, James, to call it you know, short-term volunteering.
Yeah,
What
I'm
you
sure.
meant?
Yeah, it's almost like pop-up volunteering or something, isn't it? Yeah.
It's just a
We
term that's
love-
used.
We
Sorry.
love terminology.
Yeah, it's just a term that's used in the field of volunteering. So I do forgive me, but I will expand on that and put a definition and the examples that we've used in the review to illustrate what is meant by that. But I think it's about expanding engagement to people who have very limited time and opportunity. So it might be, as James has said, you know, a weekend opportunity for families, or it might be a bespoke, discrete piece of work that we need to be done. But they come and they do that. There's no long-term commitment to the organisation or regular volunteering, but it's something that's discrete. But I will find a definition, the definition and examples, and put that in chat when we break for coffee later on. So thank you.
That's lovely. Thank you, Joy. Although I presume probably finding or capturing that data of how many people might do those small things, like if they're just picking up a few bits of items off the beach or around their roads or something, for example, it'd be difficult to know how many people are doing that, isn't it? And actually capture that data. Although it's very worthwhile work, but we won't know necessarily that they're doing it. So it might be I don't know how we do that. Claire, please.
Thank you, Chair. Joy, I was going to ask, I'm looking at the incidents and accidents report, and you mentioned the HAVS instance just now. Why are we defining the HAVS instance as near misses versus vehicle and machinery? What's the difference there in the categorisation, please?
I suppose because of the importance of identifying what is a HAVS, which is power machines, as opposed to a vehicle, and equally because we want to be able to identify and respond and address what the issues are, whether that's because it can be down to user error, it can be down to the efficiency or lifespan of the equipment as well. So and because of the amount of importance and significance of HAVS to the organisation and the investment in the ReacTech equipment, it is singled out, and also the interventions that follow. So it's about, as much as anything, the intelligence or the information that we glean from it and the lessons that can be learned. So whether or not in time we categorise in a different way, I don't know, but for the time being, HAVS is such an integral part of what everything that we do, and the risk of HAVS, bearing in mind you know, events of the last 2 years. So so that's one of the reasons why it's recorded. But equally, the interventions and it can lead to disciplinary action as well if people knowingly exceed the points or fail to follow the policy and the risk assessments.
So are you saying that there's some level of prioritisation when we categorise it as a near miss above personal injury or vehicle and machinery? Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, I think there are different lessons to be learned, and because of the number of staff who may be affected with the HAVS, by HAVS, or work with that and the ReacTech equipment. As I said, in time we may change that categorisation, but by categorising them as we do, it draws attention, the right level of attention and action and investigation that's required on the back of that. I don't know if that's answered your question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joyta.
Thank you. I mean, it's a really important one, obviously, as you commented about, you know, we've had issues with HAVS previously, and we say a review is planned, but obviously that it should be sort of, one would think, almost immediately rather than you know, what does that mean time frame, I think is what I'm asking, because we don't want to get into a position that we had previously. That was all.
Well, if I may, Chair, we met last week and we've reviewed the policy, the HAVS policy and the risk assessment that will go to Health and Safety Group. But I also attend the Countryside Management Health and Safety Group and work very closely on a daily basis, if necessary, with the Countryside Management team, who are highly engaged in the work that we do. So there's a very good engagement and working relationship between us. And obviously incidents have to be reported within 24 hours, and investigated within 5 working days. So if there is an incident reported, then that would be followed up immediately by a telephone conversation or further action to establish more information as quickly as possible. So it is about being proactive. As I said, what we've done is we've engaged. We involved the warden team leaders, as well as the Countryside operations manager and the contract and technical officer in the review, and we all got together and went through it line by line and engaged with them. And so we brought the policy and procedure to life, and we also identified the challenges of bringing policies to life but keeping them current as well, so that people, and how can we convey in an appropriate manner to the staff on a daily basis to keep that fresh, so that there's going to be an easy read version of the policy, but also visual aids next to the signing in locations on all the depots. So we've addressed it as best we can, and it's a living experience, if you like. So we're learning from it the whole time. But it is it is a very high priority for everyone concerned.
No, that's good news to hear. But I mean, the fact that you said it's planned, it sounds to me as if it's ongoing anyway.
Yeah.
And something that you will continue. So I think that's really helpful and gives me assurance. Thank you. Go to Madeline and then Sam, please.
Mine is a more general point about people services DI. So Sam, if Sam wants to continue, that'd be great.
Sam, was there something specific?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just a quick one for Joy regarding absence reasons. I'm looking at the bottom at back and neck injuries. Obviously, I've read through this piece, and it says, I'm just wondering if these problems were pre-existing problems or have they been impacted through work? Do we know?
Thank you. Joy?
That would be picked up through the return to work interview, and obviously all staff have a health assessment on appointment, and again it's as part of the return to work interview, it would be about, we would explore the injury and how it's occurred. If it was work related, then we would have picked that up and due course, you know, as part of that process. So I'm not aware of anything significant or anything that's a cause of concern. The categorisation is the World Health Organization categorisation, which can sometimes be a bit broad. We do. I'd certainly monitor physical reasons for absence that are down to physical health, because obviously there's a link with that and mental health, and they're the two most common reasons for absence. But there's been nothing in the reports that I've seen that's been a cause for concern. And as I said, none of the absences have been long term.
Okay, thanks, Joy. Thank you.
Okay. Madeline, did you want to come back in?
Please, yes. I mean, this is our first Audit and Corporate Services Review Committee meeting incorporating people services, and the report here is one that we standardly received anyway, which was one of the reasons for merging these. but perhaps just to ask Joy, there was a point made about pay and grading review coming back to us in autumn. When are you feeling that other aspects perhaps of that, the previous committee? I mean, we've taken on review of this establishment organisation and remuneration for staff, and also member development, particularly those two areas in our new terms of reference. Can you just give us a feel, Joy, for when and how you might be bringing any papers or reports on those? Or if that puts you on the spot because you're going to have to timetable your whole year, perhaps you could give us that information, because it'll just be helpful to know, you know, where we can discharge our duties in respect to this area of the role.
Thank you. As you perhaps indicated, that has put me a bit on the spot. So if I could come back on that one, I'd be really grateful. Thank you.
Fine, thank you.
It was mainly to highlight it to members as well, Joy, that we have a slightly wider responsibility now, or encompassing an area that we did receive reports on, but you know, we need to engage in this area more broadly. Diolch.
Thank you.
Thank you for the Madeline. Tegrin, please.
Yeah, just a quick one. The functions were passed on to this committee and obviously some to the authority, and I think there are member development documentation and papers that would be at the authority meeting next week as well.
Thank you. Do any other members have any comments? I've got a couple I just want to raise. Okay, thank you. I know we've discussed it before about the mandatory training and the cyber security, and I know that sometimes there's this crossover, and I think Claire mentioned it earlier. So I'm just wanting to confirm that that's 92 or nearly 93% of the whole authority, not those necessarily that just do those sort of desk-bound or computer jobs or related on that, because obviously cybersecurity is extremely important. And also on the absence reasons, I thank you for the graph, but I would sort of like to know how that relates to last year. You've mentioned about absence rates has decreased from this time last year. I mean, I could go to the People Services Committee and probably look up those stats from last year, but it's quite nice to have that comparison, because, you know, if there isn't an increase in stress, depression, anxiety and mental health, you know, is June particularly a bad time for cold, flu and infectious diseases, you know, and if that's the case, then perhaps it's just interesting. I just find that sort of stuff interesting, and if there is a trend that we might need to assist in that in some way or form. So I don't know whether that's possible, that we could have a comparison at some stage. Is that possible?
Yeah, happy to do that.
Thank you. I don't want to make you more work, but I think that trend, if that's increasing, if we're getting more people stressed, or more people are being stressed for whatever reason, I think it's quite interesting to get to the bottom of that. And flus and colds, well, they vary, don't they, throughout the whole season, but if there is a specific time. So thank you if you could do that.
Yeah, no, yeah, I've noted that for next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring in Maya, Claire, and then I'll come to you, because I think you might have something relevant to say. Thank you, Maya.
On the data protection and cybersecurity, that was one of the issues that we had, is because we were using an external system and there were some issues around kind of email addresses and different stuff. We weren't able to set up all staff. So moving to Elms will enable us to set it up with all staff, but also through having it more integrated into our induction process will make it a lot easier to manage that process, and it will also enable managers to follow up with staff who aren't completing it. So that is part of the reason why we're very keen to do this move to Elms, and that's why it's one of our kind of priority areas of work in terms of that.
Well, apologies, I think you probably said that previously in the action log information, but so I'd like to see that ideally 100%, won't it? So it'd be nice to see that again, you know, see that trend increases from the work that we're doing, just to make sure what we're doing is achieving that. So thank you, Mara. Claire, please.
Thanks, Chair. Just follow up on your questions, really, Di. I suppose this tells us where people are off. I'm conscious that there's a huge amount of work that managers will do to keep people in work, and we're referencing the EAP and the occupational health work that's going on. So I wondered in the next report, Joy, if there's something you can tell us about. I'm looking at stress, depression, anxiety, mental health support. How are we successfully managing to keep people in work, and what work are we doing with EAP and occupational health? So less sickness on the margins, I suppose, because often we do a huge amount to adapt and put in considerations for people to stay in work. So I'd be grateful to reflect on how that's being successful.
The challenge is that because there's such small numbers, that to report them isn't appropriate, because there's such small numbers that people are identifiable. What I can say is that we work very closely with individuals and their line managers to identify restricted duties, and if it's in the best interests of the organisation and the individual for people to remain in work wherever possible. So we do work with the individual, the line manager and their GP, to identify whether or not they're fit for light or restricted duties, and then we develop a programme of work. And this is aspirational. It's usually done over a period of 4 to 6 weeks, with a view to, at the end of that period, the member of staff will be able to return to their contracted hours. But as I said, it's aspirational, and there is a degree of flexibility with that. So we work wherever possible to maintain people in work, and where we have staff who are carry out physical manual work, there's often things that we can assign them. So that might be, for example, reviewing risk assessments or looking at a standard operating procedure. So we do as much as we're able to, wherever possible, keep people in work, because it's often better for them, because there's the psychological, when people have been off long-term sick, there is the psychological challenge of coming back to work. So it is very much a partnership, and it's and again we do work with occupational health as well as appropriate, but it isn't. The main thing is to work with the individual to get their GP to agree to a period of restricted or light duties, and then we do our best to facilitate that, to keep people in the workplace, and also to maintain income as well, because if people have got mental health issues, then sometimes the last thing they need is the extra stressor of worrying about when they're going to go on to half pay or nil pay. So it's very much there, but as I said, because of the sensitivities around it, it isn't always possible to report it.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time keeping people in work, and I don't think that's easy to capture, is it?
Thank you. Thank you. Any other members have any other comments? No? Well, thank you very much, Joy. Comprehensive report as ever, and very useful and interesting. So thank you.
Thank you.
Need to keep an eye on that, HABs, especially, but we will then, I think we only had to note that one, so no voting on there. We'll move on now to report number 2125, which is the draft statement of accounts, and I'm going to hand over to Catherine Evans, our Head of Financing and Fundraising. So Catherine, good morning. Bordar,
hi.
Over to you.
Hiya, good morning. I hope you can all hear me. Right, so the exciting set of 64-page accounts, I'm sure you've all read with great joy. So I just want to, it's important to stress at this point that these are draft and they are unaudited. We're going through a process of what I call a cold review at the moment, which is like a fresh read through the accounts to pick up on any errors, formatting, spelling, or anything like that at this point. So they may well, I've already identified a couple of formatting issues that we'll improve before we get to the actual final set at the end of the day. What I really want to emphasize today is where the key changes are for this year's set of accounts. And I'm sure as councillors you'd have heard of International Financial Reporting Standard 16, which is on leases. And this is the key change this year that we've had to accommodate. And so I've addressed that in, I've made copious notes, but I can't read them now because I don't understand my own writing. And it's too small. So the main change that you'll see this year is the effect of IFRS 16 on leases. And this is where we've had to assess all our lease obligations and decide whether we've got to capitalise them and recognise them, the liability as a loan effectively. So on page 10 to the accounts, we've addressed that. And on page 10, on the basis of preparation, I reported that IFRS 16 represents the main impact for the authority. This requires LSEs to adopt a policy to recognise eligible leases on the balance sheets as right-of-use assets with corresponding lease liabilities. So the main impact, having done the assessment of all our leases, that includes property leases as well, is that following an assessment of the authority's lease assets, assets worth 100,000 were recognised as right-of-use assets with a corresponding liability of 100,000, and this is reflected in the balance sheet. You'll be able to see on the balance sheet, for example, on page 19, I'm going to be jumping back and forth quite a lot between these pages. You'll be able to see now that we recognise this, a new line, creditors due after more than 1 year. So this is the key impact that you'll see. We have to recognise the lease as a liability, and we split that up between what's due in 1 year and after 1 year. Okay. We've obviously had to introduce a new accounting policy note, which is spanned over 2 pages, would you believe it? And that's reflected on pages 24 to 25. And this has basically impacted all authorities as from April 2024. What I do want to emphasise as well is we haven't had to amend prior year's figures for these or amend comparatives. So that in some places you'll see like NA, for example, because under the statement we don't have to do that. However, I do know when we come to discuss this with the auditors in the impending audit scheduled for September, when I look at guidance, it seems to suggest that I do need to change the opening reserves, and I haven't done at this point because I can't find sufficient guidance. So this will be up for discussion with the auditors. So I am expecting quite a lot of work with the auditors around this area. It won't affect the results for the year, but I think that our opening reserves position might change a little bit to reflect the impact of introducing recognising these leases or right-of-use assets. So that's the main change this year that has had an impact, a material impact on the accounts for the authority. So going back to just cover some brief about the results for the year. At the end of December, which is the last time we reported, we predicted we'd be expecting a surplus of around just over 300,000, and this is actually what we have come to at the end of the movement and reserve statement, which is on page 20. We've actually come to an increase in our general funds of 332. So we're very close to that forecast that we anticipated at the end of December. So overall, December, so right. Right. So just to draw your attention to page 18, which is our comprehensive income and expenditure statement. So this records all our income, all our expenditure, all our non-cash gains and everything. So that came to a surplus on provision of services of 184,000 for the year. Now that's after receiving the extra 1.4 million from Welsh Government, and that's quite important to stress. And then after realising then gains on investment property and other properties and movements on the pension fund, we've come to a total increase in our reserves of 737,000 for the year. Okay. And that's then, there's a detailed breakdown of that then in our movement in reserve statement, which is on page 20. And that shows how we funded all our expenditure, the movement in our earmarked reserves, etc., and how we've used our capital receipts. So overall, we've had a really positive outturn really for the year, given the fact that we're still operating a deficit budget. That extra 1.4 million from Welsh Government has made a huge difference to our results for this year. But it obviously, you know, it is really quite important. Without that, we would have been showing a deficit without any question. And then finally, I just want to draw your attention to page 32, clarifying the assumptions and judgments made in the preparation of these accounts, which is, I think, quite important that you understand that. Obviously, there are critical judgments being made in terms of things like pensions and the valuation of leases, etc. So I think that's as far as I wanted to highlight. I just want to say as well, thank you to Rosie. She's given me some detailed feedback, and I'll take those on board as I go through these accounts now to get to the final set before they're presented for audit. If you've got any questions, I'm happy to take those.
Yeah, Catherine, thank you very much. Members, any questions, please? Gosh, you're obviously doing a brilliant job, Catherine.
I appreciate they're not an easy set of accounts to understand, to be honest.
Yeah, and there's a lot of information here, isn't there? So are there no queries at all? No? Okay, well, I think that's the case. I mean, if anybody does have any questions and might not want to ask publicly, but if there's anything privately you might want to help understand, then please, I'm sure Catherine will be very happy to advise and help you.
There'll be no doubt issues with the auditors, having had that experience with Audit Wales last year. I'm sure we'll have some challenging conversations when we come to the audit in September. So I will be expecting some minor changes or some changes, but hopefully not to the overall results, major material changes.
All right, well, thank you. So again, we don't have to vote on this. Oh, Madeline, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, it was just on that point of discussion with Audit Wales and clearly the date slip as well. Once again, we haven't been able to get the draft signed accounts by the end of May. But once again, this is not entirely due to or in our own hands. It's part of the scheduling for when we actually can work with Audit Wales. So, you know, the starting point of your report, Catherine, you know, where you rightly highlighted to us, as you have to, that we haven't made the date. I think we appreciate that, and we also appreciate that again, it's not always in our control about these dates, but hopefully now we've got the schedule and we'll be able to meet those dates as are laid out in the report. So thanks very much for all your hard work on these, much appreciated, and good luck with the more detailed discussions.
Yes, there will be.
Thank you. Sam, did you want to say something? No? Noticed your hand going up and down, so I'm not sure if there's a problem or something, but you there? Okay, take that as a no then. So if there are no further... Oh, no, okay, that's fine. That's fine, okay. You didn't want to say anything?
Sorry, Chair, my doorbell rang.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fair enough. Okay. Thank you. So if there are no further comments, thank you very much, Catherine, for all your hard work on this. I say I'm sure we'll have other things to say in future. But again, we've only got to note these draft statement of accounts. So if everybody's happy, we'll move on to the next agenda item. Looks like we are. Good. Thank you very much. Let's go to the annual governance statement, agenda item 2225, and that's you again, isn't it, Catherine? So
yeah.
I'll over to you, please. That's on page 155. Thank you.
So this is the annual governance statement for 24-25. The main changes to the formatting was done last year, so we've carried forward that same new, fresh format for this year. And just a big thank you to both Maya and Caroline, who went through this very thoroughly and updated this where relevant. So where you see, however, the main changes, where it's been updated in some places with links, etc., is in the last few pages, which is the, I'm afraid I haven't got it in front of me, which is the, what do they call it? Oops.
Was that the evidence sources to monitor effectiveness? There's quite a few links in
no,
there.
Yeah, there's, I think the main thing I wanted to draw your attention to, oh yeah, there we are, is there's last sections which
yes.
covers our government's improvement actions. So these are the ones that have been updated for actions that have been completed and ones that are partially implemented. The internal auditors did recommend that we, in the state, that for us to introduce this status progress column in so we're in page 187 of 207 of the papers, if that helps. So the recommendation from the internal auditors is that we'd introduce an extra column giving the status of where we are with all the actions, and that's the main, one of the changes to section 6 and 7 that we've introduced into the document this year. So 6 and 7 are two of the main things to draw your attention to. Other than that, I haven't got any much more to bring up.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to Caroline and Maya as well. Oh, Gwyn, you could turn your mic off, Gwyn, please. Thank you. Madeline, please.
Oh, Jill, thanks again, Catherine. And I think we commented last year that this is a much more readable statement. So really appreciate that and the work that's gone into updating it. And just to comment on your last point, I think having that status column really has been useful because it adds that extra narrative and indeed extra explanation and assurance for where we're at. So I think that's a great step forward, and hopefully it does a job in explaining the position that we're in, why we're in it, and how we've got there. So I think congratulations to yourself and, as you say, your team, the team behind you in doing this. It's I think it reads very well, which for a dry governance statement is quite a positive thing. So
thank you. It certainly focuses where we need to focus, doesn't it, as a member, and so really grateful for that. Thank you, and for anybody else who might want to look at this document.
Yeah, and just to very quickly add again, thank you to Rosie. She's given me some notes, so we'll go through that in detail before we get to the final published version.
Thank you. Yeah. Any other comments, members? It's to note and comment, I think, so, or feedback. No, again, you've obviously done a brilliant job, so thank you very much. And I think you have one final agenda item, which is agenda item 8, which is to receive a verbal update by yourself on budget performance for the first quarter. So back over to you, Catherine, please.
Well, as you know, we've now transferred over to a new finance system. Seems to be going fairly well, to be honest. There have been no major hiccups. There's been a few niggles, and we're still, amending settings and seeing how things can be improved. On the whole, it seems to have been received very well across the authority. No one's been throwing their toys out of a pram or anything like that at this point. Touch wood. So where we're at the moment really is it is up and running. We're catching up. We have been behind quite a bit, but we are catching up now. There's a lot of training. This is where we really learn about the system, is as we use it. The training back in January is all gone, so it's by using it now we've been learning a lot, and the girls and the team have been doing really well, in all fairness to them. So where we're at the moment is we're now looking at developing and improving our reporting and our dashboards for individuals. So we're working with the consultants on this at the moment. So hopefully in the next, certainly by September, we'll have some more authority appropriate reporting coming online. So we haven't finished our first quarter as yet. As I say, we have been behind through the learning process and doing things differently. But from what I can see from our sort of standard reports and on there, we're doing fine. We're on budget, and we've still got sufficient, well over 8 million of cash in the bank. So there's nothing I would say there of concern. So while we develop our reports and get to the end of the first quarter, I'm fairly happy with how things are going and the results at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much. So it's difficult when you put new systems in place, isn't it? It takes a little bit of time to bed in, and appreciate that it's not always, easy to provide us with what we would normally have. But hopefully it'll be at a click of a button, and it'll be a lot easier in the future. That's the plan, isn't it?
That's the plan. Yeah.
But also glad to hear that it's bedded in well with members of the authority. Because change is sometimes difficult as well, isn't it? Yeah. So that's really good news. So thank you for that update. Does members have any comments to make with Captain regarding that? There's not an awful lot we can say at the moment, but looking forward to September when we do receive a report. Claire, please.
Catherine, I was just going to ask for reference. What's the name of the system we've moved to?
It's called Sage Intact.
Okay, it's a Sage product.
It is a Sage. It's a high-level Sage product. Yeah.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah. So this is now on the cloud as well. So it actually makes it's much easier, much faster. Yeah.
You're going to go and look it up, Claire, are you? There we are. Good. Any other comments on that? No. Well, we seem to be whizzing through this. I'm just wondering whether you want to carry on. I'm mindful that we've got to, well, ideally, if members wish to go into private session to discuss the risk register, would you like a break now, or would you like to carry on?
Can I grab a coffee?
You want a coffee? You want a coffee, do you, Claire?
Please.
All right. Well, I think, shall we go into private session and then just have the break so that we don't keep the public waiting? I think is probably the best idea, isn't it? So agenda item number 9. Thank you, Catherine, for your hard work before you go. Very much appreciated. And all the team, if you could pass on our thanks, please. Agenda item number 9, to consider whether the public should be excluded from the meeting during the consideration of the following item due to the likely disclosure of exempt information as defined in paragraph 14 of part 4 of Schedule 12A to the Local Government Act 1972. And this will be to consider the risk register. This is what that item is about. I'm very happy to propose that. Do I have a seconder, please, Madeline or Sam? Yes. Yeah, brilliant, thank you. All those in favour, if you could raise your remote hand, please, I'd be grateful. Thank you. That's unanimous, I think. So we will go into private session. This is the last item on the agenda, but we will also stop for 5 minutes. Should I say 5 minutes, or do you want to carry on till half past 11? Let's go to half past 11, shall we? That'll give everybody a bit of time. So we'll see you back at half past